Hey guys, how's it going? Well, last night fall arrived. We had a storm move through that it brought down a tremendous amount of leaves. We got a lot of rain, a lot of wind. So we today are going to be working on cleaning up, tidying up, some cutting back. There's really no start and stop to this sort of project. We're just going to see what we can get done today. We're going to start off by blowing off all of these sidewalks, which I just had spick and span yesterday. And then last night after the storm had moved through, I looked out the window and just realized all of the debris that the wind and rain brought down with it. Usually it's a bit more of a blanket, but the wind kind of moved everything into piles. See right down here. We still have lots of leaves to come down though. So we just kind of work on things here and there. We never do, like today, it's not going to be a 100% super tidy job just because it's not worth the effort at this point when there's still so much that needs to come down. We just try to get like the bulk of things as we move through fall. But last night, you guys, it was 11:30, I think. I was just drifting off to sleep, which that's an early night for me. 11:30. I was like making an effort to be in bed early and asleep. And we get a call from our gate. And it was Idaho Power. They actually had to come in and they were here most of the night, like until 5 this morning, working on a line. They said, I think they said burnt out or something. The pole's in another person's property, on our neighbor's property, but they needed to access it through the back of our dirt land. So we had, Idaho Power in here. There was a few of them working on that. Oh my goodness. But after we're done with the sidewalks here, which will take us just a couple of minutes, I'm intending on blowing what I can out into the lane so we can gather it. I'd like to start where our gator is, with the collet rows. Let's just walk over there. I just kind of want to focus on some of the major tidy up. You can see that raised beds have already started to be cleared out. We've removed beans and tomatoes, pepper plants. Look at this collet rose though. It's like a wild thing. I would like to just kind of shear it back. We're not going to do a hard prune. We don't do that until late winter, early spring. I'm going to cut back the clematis right here. And then we're just going to move our way down. We're going to do the same thing with the collet rows on this side. Just kind of tame that growth a little bit. And work on any kind of leaf cleanup or just general trimming. Like the roses here probably should never have been this tall. Next year we're going to do a different approach with deadheading and take the canes down a lot further so they're not, so wild and tall, but I want to take off that top growth. For the most part. Look at this. So pretty. This is the Lickfield Angel right here. But like in here, I'm not going to do a tremendous amount of raking. I'll probably just try to clean up larger areas where they've accumulated. But oh my goodness, I just realized, look at all these boxwoods up here. Oh, hey Russell. Look at these. Oh my goodness. The wind just blew them all down. I bet you we've got a bunch of stuff down by the high tunnel as well. Just a general cleanup day, which I love those kinds of days, but I did hear of, like there was a tree on fire somewhere in town and there were a couple of poles down. And then the one, of course, that was right here by our property, something was wrong with that, but I haven't heard of anything other than those incidents from the storm. Okay, we've got our blower. Let's get started. Look what I just discovered. The wind blew my blue and white pot off this table. I just slipped a hydrangea down in it. Now it is no more. Probably some kind of a craft I could do with these pieces. Bummer. Got our first chore done. It looks a lot better. So much cleaner. It's a satisfying thing to do. Again, not perfect. I didn't worry about all the little stuff, but I was able to gather up a couple of larger piles of leaves so we can go get rid of those. Yeah, love it. Especially when we're letting our chickens free range right now. They like to hang out close to the house for the most part. I don't know where they're at now. I just saw one of the hens. She's taken to nesting in one of our containers in the portico. She lays her eggs right there, which is fine. But with free ranging chickens and letting them do whatever they want and go wherever they want, they do poop wherever they want too. And so I don't really want to leave leaves on the sidewalk, which could potentially be mixed in with chicken droppings. I don't want to be stepping on those. So anyway, feels good to have it clean. And we got a full pop-up bag. And I'm surprised I checked all those boxwoods for water, because typically, you know, if we get a ton of rain, that's great. And it would, with the amount we got last night, it would have watered those, but they were all tipped over for the most part. So I thought, well, none of the rain reached them, but they're all heavy and don't seem to need a drink today. You know what I also took after this rose? There were canes that were coming like halfway out into the pathway, so I took those off. So now you can freely walk down, not get snagged by anything. But I just love it this time of year. The roses are just so strong. That's a distant drums right there. Oh, see the pumpkins on the truck? We have our pumpkin carving party tonight at my brother and sister-in-law's house. Festive day. Okay, so we've got one. This is the macrophylla called Let's Dance Blue Jangles. Isn't that beautiful? So that's the one I had down in this pot that blew over and broke, but the fall color is just stunning. We're gonna pop that back in the high tunnel. But we've got enough room to pop some of these rose canes, so I think we should take after that. I'm gonna have to go get a little ladder, I think. Okay, while I was grabbing this step ladder, I also went and grabbed these gloves right here. I can't remember what these are. I think 702s. That might be wrong. Anyway, they're not actual rose gloves, but they work like rose gloves. They're amazing. And this Colette has a ton of thorns. So anyway. All right, guys, want to stop and give you a little update as to where we're at because the gator's completely full. I need to go unload that. But we got the rows all tamed down a little bit. And then, like I said, late winter, early spring next year, we'll come in and thin it out and cut it down more. And I cut back the clematis. All clematis do not want to be cut back at this point. There are 3 different classifications. I think there's just 3 different classifications. One that blooms on old wood, one that blooms on new wood, and then one that blooms on both old and new wood. It's kind of like hydrangeas. So you want to make sure of which one you have before you go after it, especially like I did. I cut this one back to about 18 inches tall or so, roughly, and it blooms on new wood. So it'll produce new branches, new vines next year, and it'll bloom beautifully. And then we don't have to look at the mass of kind of, those look like powdery mildew almost looking leaves. So if we get in here closer, you can kind of see how tall I left it. I don't know, between 12 and 18 inches. And then I'm not going to attempt to clean up the ground because there are so many leaves yet to fall. In last night's storm though, there were a bunch of branches, which is what makes up a lot of what's in the back of the gator. Still a few little areas we need to clean up, but we got the bulk of it. Kids came out here and helped me with that last part. You know, it makes me wonder. Last week we had Natural Tree out. We captured part of the process for you where they were removing deadwood and thinning trees. They did this willow, both of the willows, the ash tree, a bunch of the golden rain tree right here. Makes me wonder how much worse the damage could have been with the tremendous wind gusts we were having last night. I mean, we could have lost half of a tree or big chunks of a tree, but they eliminated so much weight. Like, they know what to look for to eliminate excess weight on specific like pressure points of the tree so that you can avoid serious damage. So, you know, you see all those branches that we just picked up. It could have been like big branches or trunks even. You never know. Okay, so I'm gonna go unload and then we're gonna move over to the next collet. Okay, ready to roll again. This spot, you guys, oh my word, tackled the colette as well as the instant karma elderberry, trimmed these roses down so that they look like actual shrubs instead of these long gangly things, and did just a little leaf cleanup, and it's made all the difference. Look at this space, my word. Oh, that poor rose. I mean, it does bloom and it performs beautifully even on this side where it gets more shade from the elderberry, but I trimmed all the elderberry off of the rose and it was really thick over here. I mean, you can tell that this side just was not receiving as much light or sun. Anyway, we did get blooms earlier this season though, before it kind of shrouded that side of the rose arbor. Then I lifted this canopy a bit so that we could walk under it and not get snagged by any branches. And then all of the, many branches that were kind of growing this way are gone. It just looks so nice. One thing that the windstorm did last night as well, we were noticing that we needed to get into the arbs and clean the dead needles out of them, which we have to do from time to time, and there's still some in there. But my word, that wind blew a lot of the dead out. So all you need is one good windstorm. Does half the work for you. Yeah, look at the difference here from this angle. Wow. Oh, it looks so good. And then you can see what my approach was with the leaves. I'm just kind of trying to blow the bulk of them into a pile and pick those up. The rest of the stuff I just blow into the flower beds. I'm not going to do any perennial clean out. In fact, I don't even know how much perennial clean out we're going to do this fall. And the rose pruning I'm doing is not typical rose pruning. I should probably state that. Usually we're not coming in the fall and doing a major prune job. I am only pruning them so that they look like a nice shape going into wintertime. I'm not pruning them really hard like I will in the spring, like these little shrubs. Right here, when we come in the spring to cut them back for reals, they'll be about half the height, and we'll take a bunch of the branches out. So they'll look wildly different than now, but at least they'll have a nice shape for the wintertime. And I always appreciate that. So that's exactly what we're gonna do the rest of the way down. We are gonna forfeit just a little bit of color, but those blooms, once it warms up today, they'll probably fall off the plant because they froze last night. So it's not that big of a deal. I want to prune these to about right in here. You can kind of see where that gangly stuff starts. So we'll prune them down to that, and I think it'll look really nice. And because this isn't an actual prune job, I'm not worried about where I'm cutting them. I mean, you can cut them right above a leaf node if you want to, but we're going to be worried about that a little bit more when we're doing our actual legitimate pruning later on. I'm cutting back a little bit of phlox that I just discovered has a bit of powdery mildew. See this peony? It is covered in powdery mildew. Not all of my peonies have the powdery mildew this bad. I usually like to wait until we get to enjoy their fall color and then I cut them back. But if they're looking like this, I gotta go. We made it all the way to the end, trimming all the roses back, picking up leaves, and it looks so good. It looks so great. So I thought we'd take a walk down the pathway, take a look at what we just did, and then I've got one more thing I want to do. First of all, just a quick glance. It just looks tidy. Nothing looks overgrown or mangy or anything like that. It looks pleasant. Well, compared to what it did look like. So these 3 roses first. I did end up cutting back 3, I think, Caryopteris, which we typically don't cut back until spring. So again, I made a pretty high cut on those. And then we'll come back in the spring and cut them down a little bit further. But we got these 3 all trimmed up. And you can see off to the left, I didn't do a super great job with leaves. We'll wait until all the leaves have fallen to do a really good cleanup. Oh my goodness, look at this. Then we get into the variety of rose called Mary Rose right in here. And all 5 of these, so there's 2 here that you can see, and then there's 3 more down the way. We dug these up from behind the gazebo area. When we still had the gazebo and then that little pergola, it was a little bit random back there where the Hartley is now. I had planted 5 Mary Rose back there, and they were doing really well, and I love the flower on them, so we dug them up and put them over here, and we're gonna eventually have to dig them up again and move them to a sunnier location because these trees have put on so much growth, which is great. But we are gonna have to transition to more shade tolerant things here fairly soon. So here is another couple of the Mary Rose, and you can see what they look like right here. Look at that. And you can see I was handling those roses like nothing. I'm telling you what, gloves, like no thorns make it through them. Okay, one thing I did not do today that I am going to do probably late winter, early spring. This is a button bush. It was supposed to grow 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. I am 5'4". Let me stand next to it. Can you see the tippy top of that? That's way higher than 4 feet. So we're going to do a rejuvenation prune on this shrub so that it can be a little bit shorter because it's kind of taking over. You can't really see the urn from this side. But we'll do that later on. There's the other Caryopteris I cut back, another rose. Took after this Instant Karma a little bit and just lifted that canopy just to expose a little bit more underneath it. And anything that was flopped over the walkway too much, except for the one branch that I missed, I trimmed back. Not super tidy because I do like to have some things coming over it, but if it was real thick, like there was a whole bunch of salvia here that was really far onto the sidewalk, I did trim that. I deadheaded the Boscobel roses right here and then just blew the rest of the leaves out. And you can see the gator load, my goodness. So I'm gonna turn around so you can see back down the pathway. It's just looking good. So the last thing I'm gonna do, you guys, we are going to come along the edge here and blow all the leaves that are just in the lane into a pile and pick them up. Looking much more tidy. We picked up as many leaves as we could hold. The back of this skater. I filled the trug up all the way, the pop-up bag all the way twice. There's a whole load of leaves right down in here. And then all of our debris. My word. Hopefully it all stays in the gator on the way out to the dirt lands. But this is usually what my gator looks like at the end of a workday. Just completely random. Random tools, maybe the odd plant or two I need to go put away. In fact, we can head back there together and see what the wind did to the plants, and then you can see what we have left back there. I did see there were a couple of you who wanted like just a little peek at what plants we have yet to put in the ground, either that or wintering over in the high tunnel. But I want to take one last look at this space because it looks so nice. Also, you can see I just left the leaves in here. Pink Chablis lamium. These are the ones we planted this spring. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at them. I think they look extra charming popping through all the fall leaves, to be quite honest. It feels like it's a juxtaposition. Like it looks like spring and fall at the same time, and I love that. So happy with the decision to put those in this spring. You can see a little bit more of the lamium in this little well right here. Just as a whole, it looks so much better. And you guys, this next spring, I think we're pulling all of these boxwoods and we're gonna put new ones in, which, you know, doesn't even actually bum me out at this point. We've just struggled with these so much the past 2 or 3 years that it's past the point of being bummed about putting something new in there. And I think if we could get our hands on enough Independence boxwoods to finish this section here and the section over on the other side, so far those have proven to be more resistant to spider mites and they've got a better growth habit than these. So I'm hopeful that if we have the ability to do that little swap that we can. They look especially bad on this side. Look at this. Once they get spider mites, a spider mite damage from like 3 years ago, it doesn't reverse. You need to have new growth come and cover it, but then the new growth would come out and it would get spider mites again. Even when we're spraying, it's like, I don't know. If you miss any little portion of a leaf where there are spider mite eggs or spider mite adults and you don't hit them with spray, that little population can reinfect the whole thing really quickly. So you have to be like so thorough when you spray. And even if you're being thorough, it's easy to miss because I mean all the nooks and crannies here, that and their growth habit I haven't been all that enamored with. They kind of grow up with long branches that don't spread out laterally. So you get a heavy rain, even, it doesn't even have to be snow, and the whole thing will like lay over like that. So anyway, that's what a lot of these holes are from in the wintertime, where they've been laid over and we've been trying to recuperate them. Let's get this load emptied and then we'll head out to the high tunnel. I'm gonna try to go ever so carefully. Look at the Super Tuned bubble gums. Not too shabby, I mean not prime, but still colorful. Salvia's kind of had it though. Also, depending on the weather, we may not have much more opportunity to take a look at the color on these autumn blaze maples. They're more orange than they are red this year. This is probably not the best angle. Looks pretty dark from this angle. Hang on. Maybe we can see them a little bit better over here. They've got some beautiful color. I don't even care if they're orange or red, to be honest. We had one fall where it got cold super fast and they didn't have a chance to change color and they just turned brown and got crispy and held on to the plant and they looked horrid. So I am good with any kind of color they want to give us. As you can see, hopefully, how beautiful that is. Look at that. Oh my goodness. And continuing on down the lane, you can see those. And see the burning bush. My goodness, those are bright. Also, we had a car come in. Oh, it didn't break it. Good. We had a car come in and turn around right here and totally run into one of these boxwoods already. I think we have some footage of it. Maybe we can pop it up on the screen. Thankfully, this looks like it was the only damage. Yeah, I was hoping to do a fall foliage tour, and then with all the wind, most of the leaves fell, like last night. All of these trees were full of leaves yesterday, and now all of them are scattered all over. They look beautiful though, don't they? Full of leaves or not. Just have been enjoying them so much. See that pole right there? That's one they had to come replace last night. Yeah, got a few things down. Okay, so this is what we have in the first high tunnel. So if I twist to the back, you can see it's empty. We've got some Independence boxwoods. There's a couple of firelight hydrangeas over there, and a couple blackberries I need to tip up, right? We've got a few baptisia, a few little annuals that didn't make it into pots, but all of that stuff will winter over in here. We've got some acarus. We've got a few of the Fairy Trail hydrangeas, plus a couple more of the Blue Jangles macrophylla right here. And then here's our hanging baskets that we planted up. So this is I thought this was supposed to be the Cascade Red Begonia, Surefire Cascade Red, but I think it might just be straight up Surefire Red because it's not doing much cascading. I don't know. I mean, it's beautiful. It's grown really well. And then we've got the White Knight Lobularia in this one, looking phenomenal. And this salvia still looks good since it's under cover. Rock and Blue Suede Shoes salvia. We've got the Zydeco Twist right here that we picked up earlier this spring. I never got it planted, but that's okay. We'll do it next spring. Or maybe yet this fall, we'll see. Couple of yews. There's our miniature fruit trees, a couple of sting arborvitaes. We've got our grape trees over there. Some holly plants. Tip these up right. These are the, oh, what are they called? Taste of Heaven blackberries. We've got some Freedom boxwoods sitting outside. And one more big tree to plant. This is the Sugar Time crabapple. And then this high tunnel, it doesn't have very much in it at all. Just a few things right up front. I'm going to shift all of this stuff over to that one. In fact, everything's going to go in this one here soon. We've got a few Winter Gem boxwoods, a couple of Boston ivy, one of the Neat Ball boxwoods. This is the variety we put around the flower shed. We've got a couple of euonymus here, a couple of Celtic Pride cypress, and then some tater tot arbs, hot rod panicum. And then on the outside here, we've got one more of our triple tier arborvita topiary that we put in the barn pots. I ordered 5 just in case. These are kind of like backup plants over here. I've got a euonymus that I had a spot picked out for it, but I don't know that I want to put it there anymore. So I'm just hanging on to it for now. Boxwood, I'm going to be replacing one of our boxwoods in our brick patio pots this fall once we clean the annuals out. So I've got that there. And a Julia Child rose. So that's what we still have back here. I will probably work through, I'm hoping, quite a bit more of it before the cold really sets in. But it's always nice to have a few things too that we winter over that we can get out early in the spring and start planting. And you guys, that is gonna do it for today's project. I'm so thrilled with what we got done today. I'm just doing some cleanup. It's so therapeutic. It's so such a tangible thing, especially when you're blowing leaves and you can see them all moving and clean ground underneath it appearing. I love that. And those roses have been driving me crazy for a few weeks now. I've been meaning to get out there and get those kind of pruned back a little bit. I think what we're gonna do next year with our deadheading is just be more aggressive with it. Not just clipping off a bloom, but like actually taking it down into the plant a little bit, down the stem, not too far, but further than we did this year. And I think that will keep for a tidier looking shrub in the end. However, the ones on the west side, they are dealing with a little bit of a kind of a lack of sunshine, I guess. I don't know. I was monitoring them. Most of them, I think, are getting sufficient light in order to bloom and still look nice. So I don't know, a couple of things we can check on next year, I guess. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.